This is J.R. Colby, Chairman, Board of Selectmen. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker. It's like maybe we don't have Jeff yet.
He's having problems connecting, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tracy Blaze, Town Administrator.
Here.
Julie O'Brien, Executive Administrator. I can see Julie. You can just raise your hand if you want. All right, we have Julie. Deb Rogers, Health Agent.
You're on mute, Deb.
I'm here.
And Michael Riley, Police Chief.
I am here.
All right. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Alan and Holly Pritchard. Leslie Doyle. John and Patty Nudile. Joseph and Giovanna Chasen. Brian and BJ Berger. Lynn and Peter Farrell. Rick Salmonson. Bob Connors, Building Committee. Steve Fram, Board of Health.
Yes.
Lisa Mead, Town Council.
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to open.
Motion to open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Selectwoman Greco.
Yes.
Selectman Walker.
Yes.
And Selectman Colby, yes. And Selectman Jerry Heavy.
Yes.
Thanks, Jerry. Introduction to remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting of the Newbury Board of Selectmen is being conducted virtually, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, and the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. The order, which you can find posted on the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not, however, ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment as it is not a public hearing. For this meeting, the Newbury Board of Selectmen is convening by Zoom. Meeting link is posted on the agenda on the town's website. All the materials for this meeting, except any executive session materials, are available on the website. We recommend the members and the public follow the agenda as posted on the website. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of board members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. And please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and be sure to state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in dialogue with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right, Tracy, would you like to start off?
Sure. I just wanted to provide the board with a brief report of some of the activities that happened. But first I wanted to say to all of the affected parties in the neighborhood, the emergency meeting was convened this evening in acknowledgement of the seriousness of the public health issue that you're all dealing with. So I think all of us here are here to work cooperatively with the Board of Health and the neighborhood to ensure a successful outcome. This all began back in February of 2020, when the town was made aware of rat sightings in the Morgan Avenue neighborhood by Michael Doyle of 6 Morgan Avenue. And the Board of Health at that time was immediately notified. The health inspector conducted site inspections and provided informational flyers throughout the neighborhood. She noted ongoing gas main work being performed by National Grid and the construction of the new police station, but concluded at that time that there was no obvious source for the Board of Health to order to correct under the sanitary code. Interviews were conducted with the owners of the goat farm and the butchery, and their pest management practices did not indicate any increase in rodent activity at that time. If after following the Board of Health flyer recommendations, a homeowner was still experiencing a problem, it was recommended that they hire a professional exterminator for their individual private properties. At this time, the town contracted with Essex Pest Control to provide pest management services for all of our town facilities in that area. Then on February 28th, Michael Doyle called and requested that the town hire an exterminator for his private property. I explained to him that he would need to contract directly with the provider, and if he wished to hire an exterminator, and further advised that if he wished to make a claim against the town for any damages, he would need to do so in writing, and that was advised by our town council. So then during the months of April, May, and June, there were no additional complaints received by the offices regarding rodents until July 26th, when Michael Doyle noted that he believed the rat population was increasing. So the Board of Health was notified, and the health agent took immediate action, inspecting the area, conducting interviews, resending out the flyers. And again, at this time, there were no public health violations noted under the sanitary code. And it was determined that each homeowner needed to do their part by following the information provided in the flyers in order to eliminate the rodent sources of food, water, and shelter. On August 3rd, the Board of Health Chairman, Steve Fram, emailed the health agent and myself saying that he had received calls from Morgan Ave and Graham Avenue residents about the rodent population. No calls were logged, but the Board of Health had a subsequent meeting on August 18th and voted to, I quote, send a message to the powers that be that the town should undertake corrective measure on the properties in question. On August 25th, I followed up with Chairman Fram requesting a log of the properties in question. And he asked resident Leslie Doyle to provide me with this information. She reported issues at the following addresses: 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11 Morgan Avenue, and 7 and 9 Graham Avenue. Also on that date, August 25th, the Board of Health office did log 2 calls regarding the issue. On the 30th, we received an email from Dustin Pritchard of 10 Morgan Avenue regarding rats at this location. And then on August 31st, we dispatched our pest management provider again to the site. And he had been providing services to the town since the initial complaint in February. And he did find evidence of rodent activity and added 4 additional bait stations at that time. On the 31st, Michael Doyle then directed me to contact Chairman Colby about holding an emergency meeting of the select board, which I did, and Chairman Colby called the meeting for this evening, September 3rd at 6 p.m. And then Deb will follow up with her report.
Thank you, Tracy. Deb Rogers, our health agent.
Okay, hi. Okay, so yeah, I created my timeline for what we received in addition to what Tracy has said. And I just kind of put some details in of the conversations I had with some of the residents. So on February 18th was the first call we received from Holly Pritchard from 10 Morgan Avenue. And she stated that she saw some rats on her property since the construction site started at the new police station, and that she believed this is from the soil disturbance. I noted that there was no way to tell exactly where the rats came from, but the important thing is to eliminate their food source. I followed up with a rodent flyer, which was mailed to Morgan Avenue, Graham Avenue, and South Pond Street residents. This flyer explains how to eliminate rodents in the neighborhood. I spoke to the town administrator regarding the construction work at the town, and the town administrator followed up with a professional exterminator. And then I assumed that, the issues were gone. I didn't receive any complaints. On August 10th, I did get a call from Lynn Farrell from 4 Morgan Avenue, stated that Mike Doyle told her to call to report that she saw a rat in her backyard. The Board of Health office sent a rodent flyer out again to all the residents on Morgan Avenue. And I called the Newbury Butchery to make sure their pest management was in place, received their quote showing that they saw no rodents. Newbury Butchery continues to have their licensed exterminator bait every month and has seen no activity. I further spoke to the goat farm owner, John Newtell, about any activity on his farm. John is located at 11 Morgan Avenue. He stated he treated 6 areas on his property and another 3 next door at 9 Morgan Avenue. After a week, he has not seen any signs of rodents. He goes on, he treats on a regular basis also, and he treats his neighbors. That's his standard operating procedures. And at that time, he saw no rodents at all. And so then on August 14th, we received from Rick Salmonson on 9 Graham Ave. He spoke to Health Inspector Virginia Bacon, but he said he thinks he has a muskrat problem. On August 18th, on August 18th, the Board of Health held the meeting and voted to send the message to the powers that be should undertake the corrective measures on the properties in question. On August 31st, I spoke to Holly Pritchard, who stated she's still having ongoing rat issues. I explained to her that I was unaware that these issues were still going on since February, since I hadn't heard from her since. I told her I would follow up with her and go from there. So on February 2nd, I received a complaint from Giovanna Chasen at 7 Graham Ave. She stated her husband has seen rats in her yards for the past 3 months. Health Inspector Virginia Bacon inspected the area. Based on the inspection conducted, there was no violation from the state sanitary code observed in the neighborhood, meaning we didn't see any like hoarding situations or any type of situation where we could cite somebody on where they're coming from. However, the inspection revealed road construction on High Road, Graham Ave, and South Pond Street. On September 2nd, I spoke to Holly Pritchard from 10 Morgan Avenue regarding an update, and Mrs. Pritchard stated Patrick from McGuire Pest Control inspected her property. I called, with her permission, McGuire Pest Control to find out their conclusion. According to McGuire Pest Control, the rodent problem would need to be treated throughout the neighborhood, and they would need to conduct a full assessment. Based on the professional exterminator's opinion, this will not go away unless all properties affected are treated. On September 3rd, I spoke to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health Assistant Director for the Community Sanitation Program. If under the sanitary code, the original cause cannot be identified, then the issue falls under the public health nuisance law. It is important that the entire neighborhood participate in eliminating the problem, which includes removing debris, bird feeders, covering trash bins, and any other potential food source, water, and shelter areas. At this point, it is recommended that the town hire a licensed professional exterminator to survey the neighborhood and report his findings back to the Board of Health. We will need to know what properties are affected and what actions are needed to eradicate the problem. Once we have this report, the Board of Health can order the properties to take corrective actions. And that was from the state saying. So That's basically all the information that came in through our office.
Okay, thank you, Deb. Lisa Mead, do we still have Lisa?
Yes, we do, Chairman Colby. What can I do for you?
Are there any questions from the board about process? Where do we want to go from here? I guess I'll open it up to my fellow board members. Any questions or comments?
I mean, I'll make a motion because I don't think we can do much unless we have information from the Board of Health. So I don't mind making a motion, something to the tune of, I move that the Board of Health move forward with the health agent, Deb Rogers' recommendation and report periodically back to us in the form of a memorandum to keep us informed, because and I want to thank everyone for their hard work. It's certainly, a complex problem. And I, as a selectman, am certainly not a rat expert, so I have to turn probably to the Board of Health that, deals with things like this, or has dealt with them, I imagine. So that's probably, I think, the best strategy.
Is there a second? And we'll move to further discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion. Any other questions, comments? Jerry?
Yeah, I really think we really need to help this neighborhood. As the exterminator from McGuire's, I think it was, indicated that you have to treat the whole area. And I think there's precedent. I know when they were doing the big dig in Boston, that stirred up a ton of rats all over the city of Boston. So excuse me, I do think we need to help these folks, and I would really like us, I know we've had an exterminator, is that something that's going to be ongoing? Because I really do think, I just, today I Googled diseases transmitted by rodents. There's 11 different diseases, most of which I can't pronounce, except I can pronounce the plague. And I know rats caused the plague in the medieval days. So, people shouldn't have to live with rats. And I think it's kind of obvious in reading Mr. Pritchard's letter. They've lived there 45 years. They've never had any rat problem before the construction of the police department. And I would suggest that, if the town caused the problem by the digging, you cause the problem, you fix the problem. And I would certainly make a motion to get an exterminator there and, exterminate that whole neighborhood. So
I think the motion is a different motion. Do you want to amend that motion, or do you want to have more discussion first?
Okay, well, yeah, talk amongst yourselves, and I'll make a motion when everyone's had their say.
Okay.
Okay, Jeff has a motion on the floor. Any other comments?
And I'll precipitate what the, some of the logic behind the motion. Once again, I'm really not the person to, like Jerry said, be heading up, cleaning up the neighborhood, because I don't know how to do it as a selectman. There was National Grid construction, and there was our construction, and there has to be food sources in the area to have rats there anyway. So it's a complex problem. And I don't know if Lisa can answer this. I don't know if we can use taxpayers' money on private property. I don't know how we do. So the Board of Health is at least more equipped for me in that circumstance. But Lisa, how do we go about using taxpayers' money on private property?
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I think the process that Deb laid out is the path in that direction. So you get the exterminator that the town is going to hire as essentially an assistant agent to the health agent to make a determination about what the source is, if there is a source, and where the problems lie. you have to make that determination first, because as you said, and as Deb has said, and the exterminators have said, there are a number of different issues going on that can be the source and or the problem for these rodents, which I too am not an expert on. So you find that out, and then if the town has issues, and the town has to address their issues. If the property owners have issues, they have to address those issues. If the property owners believe their issue is caused by the town, they need to make a claim to the town. The town can't just write a check to property owners or pay exterminators to do work on private property. So they would have to make a claim to the town in order to do that. But I don't think you're quite there yet. And so I think that you need all of the information from the professionals to find out what the sources are first, and what the professionals say on how to treat them. Because I think everybody has to treat them. But, again, I think you've got to follow the process. But if ultimately the private property owners believe that the town has caused the problems, they have to make a claim unless the town's treating it on their own property.
Thank you, Lisa. Jeff has a motion on the floor. I'll move to a roll call vote.
Excuse me, could you point of information, could you recap his motion?
Jeff, do you want to recap your motion? It's basically to go with the health agent's guidance for,
I kind of wrote it down, but I don't know if I can say it.
So can I speak first?
In other words, go ahead, Alicia.
So I feel greatly to this neighborhood because I'm in a unique situation where I've lived this. In my neighborhood, we had some construction done in the next town over, and it must have moved the earth, and we had an infestation on my whole street. And we did have to treat the whole street. This is about 20, 25 years ago. And it took a while. It took about a month, and it left. But I think that the motion that Jeff says provides through the Board of Health, the town oversight to make sure that this is not ignored, and that we are going to get direct, under Deb Rogers' guidance, we'll get direct feedback in memos to make sure that we can stay on top of it, because ultimately they're not going to go away. I mean, they're wildlife, they're here. They just were disturbed somehow, some way, and they've raised their ugly head, for lack of a better word.
Harry?
Yeah, I guess my concern is, the rats aren't going to read the memo, and they're not going to leave on their own accord. I think we need to act timely, because this is a real serious health problem. And I really think if we have a town exterminator, which we apparently do, we need to help these people, and we need to exterminate around the construction of the police department, and maybe that will assist them. But
That's, bait stations have been in place at the police station for quite some time.
Since February.
and it's not, but apparently it's not helping.
Right,
Right,
but
so-
with Deb Rogers, basically what her recommendation, to get to the root of the problem, you need to identify the source. That having the consultant come in, identify the source. We should act through our health agent to solve the problem in the neighborhood through proper.
And I don't have a problem with that. I just want it to be done
Yeah.
expeditiously, to help these people.
Yeah, well, I think if we vote on it tonight, I think Deb can take this and run with it tomorrow.
I think what is going on too, Jerry, is we all have, I'm outdoors a lot, nature's tough. We certainly have empathy for what's going on, but on the advice of town council and working with the Board of Health, it's not that easy to just say, let's go spend taxpayers' money and pay for everything all, there is this process that's in place. Sooner we get it done, the sooner, it gets put in place. Whatever comes out of it is I'm fine with, and if the town has to participate some way in helping, perfect.
Well,
It's just-
I think I need clarification on that because I think the town is spending taxpayer money to have an assessment done. Is that true?
Right, that's what I wanted to, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I did want to clarify that because I think this goes to Ms. Heavy's point as well, Ms. Greco. And that is, in fact, the town does have the authority under the health agent for inspection purposes for a public health nuisance to go into these private properties with the exterminator to do this immediate assessment. So that obviously is town money, town resources going in to do that immediately. So that you can spend town resources on that. The solution, depending on what the solution is by the exterminator, that's what's going to have to be looked at. But in the meantime, certainly the town can continue the actions that they've taken to bait all of the stuff that they've baited and continue to do that. But you can spend town resources as the health agent and the exterminator to go make a determination.
And that could be done immediately?
I think that it looks like the health agent in the last 2 days has had an exterminator out there. So yes, she can immediately do that.
Good.
Chairman, before we vote, I was wondering if there were any residents that have dialed in late that wanted to speak. I don't know if there's anybody here. Anybody that you mentioned.
We had Alan and Holly Pritchard, Leslie Doyle, John and Patty Nudile, Joseph and Giovanna Chasen, Brian and BJ Berger, Lynn and Peter Farrell, Rick Salmonson.
Is there anyone
They're,
here?
they're actually not there, but Steve did have his hand up, JR.
Steve,
I just wanted to talk Rick Salmonson's call on the 14th. He thought it was a muskrat because it was so big. But then he admitted to me that he doesn't know what a muskrat looked like. So I can tell you that a Norway rat can weigh up to a pound and be 16 inches long. And if we caused it from the construction, then we should be able to take care of it, the solution.
well, having the assessment done will show us what the point source of the infestation is. So I think that's a good first step. Okay. Steve?
It might be a little late to find the source because they've moved on and that area is baited. Now we have to bait the areas where the rats are. You have to do it weekly for about a month and they'll go away.
Okay, I'll move to any other questions or comments? I'm going to move to a roll call vote on Jeff Walker's motion that was seconded by Alicia Greco. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker.
I'll vote yes, but I do want to intercede with does this process, before we close this vote, does it make sense to Deb? Does it make sense to Lisa Mead? It seems to me like the most expeditious way to get into the problem quickly and provide a solution rather than just throwing money at something we don't know what's going on. So Deb, it seems to me to be a good idea, right?
What was your exact question? I'm sorry.
My exact question was that this is the way to proceed. It seems to me to be the best way to proceed.
So I'm following, this is what I got today, like Mass DP, Department of Public Health, that's their recommendation, is to hire and get an assessment. He stated today to me that the board, because I have been kind of figuring things out, and he said it's not really the Board of Health's, my job anyways, my job to determine and rat hunt and figure out exactly where they came from, because sometimes you can never figure out the exact source where they live in the environment. He said, "Don't, that's not my job to figure it out, and it's not my job of who pays or anything." So I stand behind, that's no part of me. My job is just to figure out, there is definitely a problem now in those areas, and my job is just to, let's get this problem straightened out, remediate it as soon as possible, because we have these properties now that have ongoing rodent issues. So that's kind of our job, is just to have them go out, assess where these rats are, which houses need treatment and which ones don't, because we don't want them to miss a property or a site and then we get back in this situation. So that's basically my role anyways, as it, I don't know if we'll ever exactly figure it out, or I don't know, any of that, I know that when we get instantly, no matter where it is, when we get a rat sighting, which we do probably twice a year, we'll get rat sightings, usually in the spring or in the fall, in a community, then my first thing is I go out there, I assess the situation, and right away see if there's anything out of the sanitary code. Sometimes you might see, look at this guy's got 3 dumpsters set up with all trash in it. Or somebody has backyard chickens and it's really bad. Or so you can kind of see where they are, and then you cite that person and we fix it. But in situations sometimes like this one, where we say, yes, there's construction going on. Yes, there's construction on the National Grid and a lot of digging out, a lot going on. You've got a butchery, you've got the farm. I did do my inspection, checked everything. Everything seems to be a par. So we don't know. So then we send out this generic flyer that's been really a great in the past. I actually created it along with a professional exterminator, saying that, okay, we actually put it out to the whole street once we hear of any sightings. And it basically just tells everybody, look, in your community, which is a great thing. I'd want to be warned if my neighbors saw some rats. And it just says, in your community, they've been some rat sightings, and therefore, if you all work as a community to try to eliminate it, as soon as possible, and by, keeping out your trash, keeping your lawn mowed, keep away your bird feeders at this time, and all this other, and then a full list. And then it says, when all fails, then immediately contact a professional exterminator if you can't get it under control with the information provided. So we instantly send that all out, and we've always seemed to be able to get it under control. So.
Good, thanks. Listening to what Deb just said, I vote yes too.
Okay, and Selectman Colby, yes. All right, I would entertain a motion to close.
Move
Motion
to adjourn.
Was that Lee? Who was it?
It was me. I move to adjourn.
Okay, second
All those in favor? Alicia Gregg,
call.
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby. Yes. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.